The system's not broken. It's doing precisely what it was intended to do, oppressing our people. It's time for a change. Got what we need, get it. Got what we want, really. All in our own city, showing what we mean.
All right, so without further ado, my name is Renaissance. I'm the co-director of campaigns at 350 Seattle. And before we begin, it's customary and honorable, and something that I love to do is to honor whose lands that we're on. The Duwamish, the Suquamish, Stillaguamish, Snohomish, Tulalip, Muckleshoot, Puyallup, and Coast Salish peoples. And I know oftentimes you only hear like one or two of those peoples, but there was a lot of movement around here back in the day, and there's still a lot of movement now of where all of those like borders and boundaries were. And the thinking about borders and boundaries is something that is definitely like a westernized like concept, because there was a lot of migration and trade and familial ties all across the entire region, from down into California, all the way up to Alaska, all the way over into like the Central America. There was a whole lot of moving around. So identifying all of those folks. It's also important to identify one of the people responsible for the abuse that led us to the place that we're in now, and that was Governor Isaac Stevens in 1851, who wrote contracts pretty much in English that couldn't really be interpreted, and then extracted what they called signatures and consent. But I know from working with lawyers now that if you hand a contract to somebody that is in a language that isn't their first language and that they don't understand, and you don't have a translator there that can actually put it into meaningful terms, that contract is null and void. So when we talk about what land has been given up and what has been ceded, you know, the best interpretation is that it wasn't fully understood what was being agreed to, if anything was being agreed to at that time. Therefore, that makes us all culpable and responsible in terms of equity. So when we're talking about like land acknowledgement, it's more than just the saying of the thing. It's actually putting action behind those words so that we're building up and making sure that other people's liberation are also fulfilled. And so in this land acknowledgement, that's what I'd love to share, and that I am also, too, a guest on these lands.
Hello, healthy through heat and smoke kin and professionals from the media. Welcome today. My name is Nicole Grant. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the executive director of 350 Seattle. And we're here. Yay! As a campaign, as a community, and as a coalition, healthy through heat and smoke, because we know in this Parks levy, we can change the dial on climate change. We can turn our community centers into climate resilience hubs that have air conditioning, that have air filtration for wildfire smoke, that are fossil fuel free, that have rooftop solar so that we have power during power outages that happen during heat waves. So I'll be your MC today with my co-MC.
Hey y'all, my name's Shimona Moreno. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the deputy director at 350 Seattle. Thank you. I am just like so honored to be here with all of you. I've been with 350 Seattle since 2017. I started off as a volunteer. I started off showing up at one of these events, holding a sign, telling people to divest from fossil fuels. And here I am before you at this press conference, urging our city council members to once again support our communities, to fight for what is right, which is the right for us to breathe fresh air and to have power and to connect with our community. And so I'm so grateful to be standing here with all of our partners, both other community orgs and unions, fighting together, because that's like what we truly believe at 350 Seattle, to fight for just, resilient, welcoming communities. And in order to do that, we have to do that together. So I'll be one of your MCs this evening, and I'm grateful to be here with you all. And I have the pleasure to introduce, where are ya? Andrew Eccles of 350 Seattle.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to see y'all here. My name is Andrew Eccles. I've been campaigning with 350 Seattle the last few years. I'm also a rank and file Seattle Education Association member. Shout out. Yeah. The strike might have something to do with media that said they would come, maybe being a little distracted. And just wanted to give a shout out. I've been working on this campaign since the winter with so many folks here that have been hitting the ground, whether it's building this beautiful art, making phone calls to friends and people in our organization to come out for an event like tonight, giving public comment at previous events, lobbying council members directly that have gotten us to the place today where so much of the language and our vision is in the proposal that came out of the mayor's office. That's not the goodwill of the mayor, that's people power and what we did together. Yeah. And thank you to Nicole for laying out the vision of what we want to see with these resilience hubs at our community centers. And as well, we want to see that we fight for climate justice and ensure that the communities most impacted by pollution get to see the benefits of these investments first, that these investments can create good living wage union jobs with direct local hire so people have pathways into the good work in the building trades. And we're also here because we want to win all that in the Parks Levy and build power and coalition together to go on and fight for a hell of a lot more, because we know we need massive public investment in transforming our economy to move off of fossil fuels and make our lives better. So that's what we're here to fight for. We're excited you're here tonight, and we're going to stay with you in the struggle for the long haul. Solidarity. Thank you for being here.
All right, hey everybody. My name is Grace Hope. I'm not smart like Andrew and can just wing it. I wrote some stuff down. I hope you all can bear with me. I'm smart, just different smart. All right. So glad to be here with you all and with so many amazing partners and organizations. So I'm a staff member at 350 Seattle. I've been working with this incredible crew all summer, working to organize community support for the Green New Deal demands of the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign. My work this year has been to support and welcome all the volunteers who take action with us and to create opportunities for us to grow and deepen our connections as a volunteer organizing community. I gotta say, as somebody who's been organizing with 350 groups since 2018, the outpouring of support and enthusiasm that we're seeing for this campaign are impossible to understate. I believe that's because people everywhere are in touch with the seriousness of the climate crisis and are eager to be part of community-based solutions. And I would invite any of you who have been part of the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign, if that feels true to you, go ahead and give a shout out. We're so glad that you've been part of this campaign. Awesome. So through the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign, ordinary people from all walks of life are coming together and finding strength and hope through working through collective action to demand change and solutions. We've also seen that people just need the chance to share their climate stories and to understand that they're not alone in caring about building a better and more just world. Healthy Through Heat and Smoke has created community connections and resilience by bringing together people all across the region to advocate for a Green New Deal for Seattle's community centers, regardless of age or race or gender or class or lived experience, because we understand that it's going to take all of us working together now for solutions in the face of the climate crisis. And so finally, I just want to express my really deep gratitude for every single person who's been a part of this, volunteers, staff members, partner organizations, and comrades, everybody who's thrown down with us on this incredible effort. We know we have the power to win when we work together. And we also know that the climate crisis is presenting an impossible challenge to us right now, but that if we work together, we can rise to meet that challenge. So I'm so grateful to be here with you all tonight, and I'm going to hand it over to our next speaker. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Grace. All right, next up is Andrea Ornelas. She is a union leader from Laborers 242 that represents both construction workers that can build these climate resilience hubs and the 1,000+ workers that are at Seattle Parks providing the services we enjoy every day. Please welcome Andrea Ornelas, the Assistant Political Director of Laborers 242.
Well, thank you. As she said, I'm Andrea. I represent LiUNA Local 242. I'm representing my family and my children as well. I'm glad to be here today in support of the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign. Upgrading Seattle's community centers for climate resilience and clean energy is of most urgency for workers, families, and the surrounding neighborhoods. In less than 4 years, Seattle had weathered climate crises from forest fires, heat waves, and snowstorms, leaving communities distraught and displaced. Expanding the Seattle Park Levy is an opportunity to implement the city's own equity goals by getting resilient centers set up in communities most impacted by pollution to be one step closer to a greener economy. There are more and many opportunities that will benefit the neighborhood. The residents and their families, including a livable wage job training through state registered apprenticeship programs, and priority local hire as well. With these benefits, the community can upgrade their own homes with proper solar, heat, pumps, HVAC systems, and more. So supporting the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign is a must, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I have the pleasure of introducing Nicole Grant again, who is going to be sharing a letter from, from Keith from IBW 46.
Thank you, Shimona. Okay. So I'm also a journey level electrician, and my union, IBW 46, who does solar panels, wanted to show support for this house, for the levy, the Parks levy. And here's what they say to us. IBW 46 says, there is no doubt that our climate is changing. A longer, more dangerous fire season is just one key indicator. We cannot turn a blind eye and think that something that is happening on the other side of our state or in a neighboring state has no impact on our very own health. And those who are most vulnerable are the ones who pay the highest prices, including a documented shorter lifespan than their neighbors in adjacent communities. This is the endemic aspect of years of bad housing policy and environmental disregard. The Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign has the full support of IBEW 46, as well as many of our other partners in labor. Where we are now is in search of solutions to issues that have been put on the back burner for far too long. Some of these community centers are very aged and showing the lack of necessary upgrades to make them a true benefit to the communities they are meant to serve. So thank you to the electricians for supporting us all here. And with that, I would like to invite Jacob from How's Our Neighbors?
Hi, my name is Jacob Shear. I'm an organizer for How's Our Neighbors, as well as an organizer for Real Change, Seattle's street newspaper. Yeah, really an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So as an organization that works directly with unhoused and low-income Seattleites, Real Change knows that the impact of the climate emergency, including heat and smoke, impacts folks like Real Change vendors disproportionately. When a heat wave or smoke hits Seattle, we must remember that every day and night in this incredibly wealthy city, thousands of our neighbors live and sleep outdoors with no reprieve or relief from the extreme conditions that have increasingly come to define our summers as well as our winters. And our current patchwork system of cooling centers means that there's often no clear place to turn to for poor and unhoused people who are forced to withstand conditions that have become lethal. In Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, 800 people have died of heat-related conditions in the heat wave of 2021. The climate catastrophe is here, and its impacts will be endured by our most marginalized neighbors and communities without significant and decisive action, which our city council, like these folks in here, have the power to take, and we expect them to. Our neighbors living outdoors need permanent housing that meets their needs first and foremost, and we are thrilled that Seattle will soon have an opportunity to vote on bringing permanently affordable, permanently public, green social housing to Seattle this February when Initiative 135 is on the ballot. Thank you, and it's got some incredible support from folks here in that campaign. So as we work to establish housing as a human right in Seattle, we urgently need an expansion and comprehensive coverage of climate-resilient cooling centers throughout Seattle, and this should be a cornerstone of any parks levy. City Council must make climate and community resilience a central component of the parks levy to keep people safe, healthy, and alive. Real change vendors and all people deserve relief from heat and smoke and the right to be cool and comfortable.
Thank you so much, Jacob. I would also love to invite up Belinda Chin from ProTech 17. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am also a staff member of Seattle Parks and Recreation, and I've been out there with my brothers and sisters during the pandemic, and I'm closing in on 30 years with Seattle Parks and Recreation, so I've been there through the heat and smoke, and I can tell you that this whole campaign is of great interest and runs deep in the hearts of, and with great appreciation for all these efforts, because when we had really bad smoke, there were, this is pre-pandemic, in order to get an N95, you have to get medically approved to get an N95 because it's considered a respirator. But there were not enough appointments to get everybody, set up with masks. During the pandemic, it was a little bit better because N95s were part of the COVID protocol. But thank goodness we didn't have much smoke this season. But we would have been in a similar situation with not enough medical appointments. My brothers and sisters took care of the children of essential workers during the pandemic. Thank goodness we didn't have too many days of high heat, but they lacked the thermometers to be able to tell the interior temperature of the rooms that they're in. The libraries, they have the authority to close the building if it's over 80 degrees for more than an hour. Community center staff, they don't have the thermometers to be able to tell that. So anyway, with that in mind, one other thing I want to make mention of is the Parks and Rec staff are some of the biggest, hardest, compassionate people that I know. And they're the kind of folks you have to remind them, like on the airplane, it's like, if you want to help others, you got to put your mask on first, right? And they will go without breaks. They will go without breaks because they don't want to leave their colleague alone in the building. They also care a lot about the kiddos and about any program participant. And so they will sacrifice their breaks to be there to take care of people. As a ProTech 17 steward, with my brothers and sisters at Parks in mind, please, fully staff all Seattle Parks community centers and make sure that there are enough folks to cover extra shifts during heat waves and wildfire smoke, and also have the gear to keep them safe. All Seattle Parks community centers need to have heating and cooling, as well as the air filtration to keep workers and community members safe from climate change. This past summer, they had delivered some air cooling units. They were left in a box in the building without any instruction of how to install them. Our Seattle Parks community centers need rooftop solar panels with battery storage to make sure we can keep the lights on and the cell phones going in case of emergencies. We don't want to leave anybody behind, and we definitely, are working with unions, with all y'all, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Woo! Thank you, Belinda, for being the voice of parks workers. Next up, Clara Cantor from Whose Streets? Our Streets.
Whose streets?
Our Streets.
Whose streets?
Our Streets.
Hey everyone, I'm Clara Cantor. I'm here with Dowie.
Dowie.
Is this one on? We're here from Whose Streets Our Streets, which is a work group working on community safety on our streets. And we endorsed the Healthy Through Heat and Smoke campaign because we need safe, healthy public community spaces that support our needs. And thanks to climate catastrophe, that includes spaces where we can publicly access clean and cool air. Due to housing discrimination and wealth inequality, BIPOC communities are more likely to be renting, to be living in older buildings without AC, and to be needing publicly accessible spaces where we can be cool and be breathing properly. Our communities already face health disparities and lowered life expectancies, and Black and Indigenous people and low-income people are most likely to have to go to the hospital for smoke-related asthma attacks during smoke season. Wildfire smoke compounds the air pollution that we are already experiencing from I-5 and from I-90 and from other highways that are cutting through our communities. And we're just here to say that we need upgraded community spaces that serve our BIPOC communities and not just in the wealthy white parts of Seattle. Thank you.
Yeah, again, as you said, my name is Dawi. I'm Who Street, Our Street, and I'm here to support with 350 Seattle with their campaign of Healthy Through Heat and Smoke. We all deserve to breathe the fresh air, so I'm here in support, and I'll be more than happy to help pay for it. So thank you for having us.
All right, last but certainly not least, we are going to close this beautiful press conference out with our dear Renaissance.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
After I say this call, y'all gotta say resilience hubs. What do we want?
Resilience hubs.
What do we want?
Resilience hubs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Resilience hubs.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Resilience hubs.
When do we want it?
Now.
And if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
maybe we can go, if we don't get it, build it up. Does that work? If we don't get it,
Build it up.
if we don't get it,
Build it up.
if we don't get it,
Build it up.
what do we want?
Resilience hubs.
When do we want them?
Now.
What do we want?
Resilience hubs.
When do we want them?
Now.
And if we don't get them,
Build it up.
if we don't get them,
Build it up.
if we don't get them,
Build it up.
oh, you can tell I like protesting. Oh, and the beautiful and the difficult thing is we're in the middle of a yes fight. I've so often spent time fighting things that were like, this cannot happen. Just like the poems I was talking about earlier. All these things, these no. It's harmful, it's dehumanizing, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transphobic, it's this, it's that, it's xenophobic. We don't want migrants, fight because we do want migrants. Like all of the things. But here we get to fight for something that we want. And it feels good fighting and winning something that we want in our community, which is something that we need. Now, it's unfortunate that we have to fight for it because what we're fighting for are basic necessities so that our people can weather the climate catastrophe that's ahead of us that a lot of folks didn't create but are having to pay for anyway. I'm not going to leave you on the hook for paying for fixing climate change. But I'm down with the help. And this campaign has inspired me in a way that other campaigns have not. Because we've been able, as you've seen from the folks that are up here on the stage with us together sharing, have been laboring on this project and for this work, from the conceptualization of it, to the implementation, to all of the lobbying, to talking to folks that seem to be like a few classes above what we're normally used to operating with. And it's really scary sometimes walking into like a politician's office, an elected official's office, and being like, hey, yo, this is what we need. Oftentimes we're not always so comfortable with, actually, we hired you. And even though I voted against you, like, you're still hired to serve us, and so like, who works for who here, but walking folks through that and being together shoulder to shoulder while we're standing together, it's all of a sudden not so scary. And there's something that's happening up here. I don't know if you recognize by the list of the names and the organizations and the groups that are up here, but we've got labor organizations, we've got activist organizations, we have direct service organizations, we've got community organizations, we've got BIPOC organizations, and it's all throughout the community. And I don't remember the last time that I've seen this type of organizing be flooding through the city where we're all working for one common goal. And the goal is a sustainable future that we all work on and build together. Now, at the need to define safety. All too often, safety is used as public safety, which is code for more cops, which is code for more criminalization, which is code for more punitive action. But actually, when we talk to people about what safety is, a lot of people talk about, I need access to food. I live in a food desert. What is safety? I need access to education. What is safety? I need access to medical care. What is safety? I need access to a job that is meaningful to me. It's not always, I need the most money in the world, but when we're talking about safety, and never in one single conversation that I've asked, what makes you feel safe? And I've talked to lots of people. I've talked to people that were, I won't name them, because I'm inflammatory. I like to be inflammatory because I like to cause drama, but I've never heard people say that I need folks to get shot in the street. Right? I've never heard deny people the right a place to live. Like, those are not the things that I've heard. And so what we're talking about is coming together to define in our own communities what it is that we need to make us safe. And that's what we're after here with the Resilience Hubs. And this campaign here is about laying the foundation so that we can have the infrastructure in our facilities so that we can actually build up Resilience Hubs. And now we're going to go inside and we're going to tell the rest of the folks that are in there exactly what it is that we want and need, right? What do we want? When do we want them? What do we want? When do we want them? And if we don't get them, if we don't get them, if we don't get them, thank you all very much.
Hi there. My name is Andrew Eckel.
Hi, my name is Kristen Smith. My name is Pamela Smith.
I'm Andrea Reales. I'm representing learners of the
I'm Miriam. I come before you with a guided solar panel. Like the lower axis before me, I speak for the trees.
My name is Dave. I'm 21 years old. My name is Jake Dewey.
I'm Project 17 steward, representing community center staff at Seattle Parks and Recreation.
Hello everyone, my name is Peter Condit.
Hello, council members. Nicole Grant, is she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director at 350 Seattle.
I'm Penny O'Grady.
My name is Grace Hope. I'm a staff member at organizer.
I'm a healthcare worker and rector in West Seattle.
My name is Josh.
Hi, my name is Robert Mattall. I live in Fremont, Seattle.
My name is Sue Coleman.
I'm Peter Linton of 350 Seattle.
My name is Dawi. I'm with R Street, and I live in Shoreline.
And Chair and organizer of Real Change's Advocacy Department, as well as with the House Our Neighbors Initiative 135 for social housing here in Seattle.
Let's do this. Hello, my name is Dakota Rash. I'm a heat pump.
Our vision is to upgrade Seattle community centers with heat pumps so they can move from gas heat to all electric, and also add cooling capacity in addition to heating, especially for having cooling shelters during heat events, to upgrade the HVAC so that they can be sheltered during smoke events, safer for COVID, and to add microgrid solar so they can have backup power during power outages, during heat events, earthquakes, or winter storms. We want to do all of this with a project labor agreement to create good green union jobs and direct local hire, so we have pathways into the building trades for local residents at sites. And really crucially, we want communities most impacted by pollution and disinvestment to be prioritized for receiving these upgrades. We're really thrilled to see the mayor's proposal included a lot of our vision. I think that's do a lot of really strong organizing work, and we want to see as much funding as possible go for these really critical upgrades for investing in our communities and fighting the climate crisis. We also have a lot of folks here collected these 1,000 petition signatures to this effect, which we wanted to turn into y'all today. Thank you.
One night in August 2020, I woke up with smoke blowing in. We closed the windows and stuck towels under doors. as the wind changed and smoke from eastern Washington wildfires covered over the city. Over the next 10 days, community, political, and mutual aid groups I work with organized around the clock to provide safety supplies as the sun turned red.
This is honestly a terrifying time to be alive, but it's also an opportunity for us to transform the city for the better.
And thus decisions made now will reverberate for a very long time into my lifetime and beyond.
What if there was a place the community could use during a climate crisis? A resilient hub that could save lives when the power goes out during a snowstorm. A cooling hub when it was unbearably hot during the heat wave. With the increased budget for Seattle parks and communities can build, these agreements provide opportunities for the community to make a livable wage, acquire necessary renovations for their own homes and families as well.
Nobody gets left behind. Make sure that the most impacted communities get community center upgrades we desperately need. And please work with the unions. Workers building and upgrading the community centers and working in them need the workers' rights and benefits that come with union membership.
Such upgrades would create green jobs, jobs that people can feel good about performing, and make Seattle a leader in climate resiliency.
I'm also very pleased that Seattle is committed to transitioning city-owned buildings off fossil fuels by 2035. But in that year, I will turn 29. I do not think that we as a city and as a world can wait until my 30s to fulfill Seattle's promise to a green new deal. I am not with that. If even the buildings of our government, who should be setting an example, cannot use green energy, then how can we expect others to do so?
I'm a single parent, and I'm a scientist, and I think a lot about what it means to raise young people in this moment. During last year's historic heat wave, which was a once-in-a-1,000-year event, made 150 times more likely by the climate crisis, I borrowed an air conditioning unit from my neighbor, and my sister's whole family came to stay at my tiny house with my kids, with all the dogs, for about a week, just trying to cope. We were lucky we had access to an air conditioning unit. But so many people could not make ends meet and couldn't find shelter.
And during last summer's heat wave, I spoke to a lot of my students and their families. A lot of my students live in marginalized communities, most impacted by pollution. During that time, their families, many of them didn't have a place to go. And in fact, our community had to scramble into these private spaces during that time to even have enough places for cooling. In White Center, it was a real crisis.
While today we have clear skies, then we had wildfire smoke, making it look like dusk at 3 p.m., despite the sun still being far over the horizon. It was dangerous even to be outside for too long. The summer heat has stayed though, and without AC, my family and I have done our best to keep cool. We stayed inside in shaded rooms, but I know that many of our neighbors did not and do not have places to go.
In my building, which is only 5 years old, there is no air conditioning. If I walk down my hallway on a hot day, everybody has a fan trying to blow the air conditioning from the public spaces into the private. You can't open the windows on a smoky day to get fresh air, and this is in the middle of COVID. I'm 65 years old, I'm a cancer survivor. I can't stay in my building on a hot day. I have to go out either to a swimming pool or to a library or to a community center just to survive.
And of course, my voice is not the voice that matters. The voices that matter are the voices of, our more vulnerable citizens in our most impacted communities. So we have children, pregnant mothers, we have disabled people, we have houseless people. Those are the people who urgently need a place to go.
As an organization that works directly with unhoused and low-income Seattleites, Real Change knows that the impact of the climate emergency, including heat and smoke, impacts folks like Real Change members disproportionately. When a heat wave or smoke hits Seattle, we must remember that every day and night in this very wealthy city, thousands of our neighbors live and sleep outdoors with no reprieve or relief from the extreme conditions that have become increasingly come to define our summers and our winters. As we work to establish housing as a human right here in Seattle, we urgently need an expansion and comprehensive coverage of climate-resilient cooling centers throughout Seattle, and this should be a cornerstone of any parks levy. City Council must make climate and community resilience a central component of the parks levy to keep people safe, healthy, and alive. Real change vendors and all people deserve relief from heat and smoke and the right to be cool and comfortable. Thank you.
Really concerned about the extreme weather and what it's doing to many of us in our communities. You just want to hide out in your house when the heat wave hits. And if you cannot afford an air conditioner, you're in trouble. Fortunately, I can invest in air conditioning, but a lot of my community cannot.
We deserve to be able to be cool during a heat wave when it's too hot and to have filtered air. We deserve to have rooftop solar that can refrigerate our medicines and charge our cell phones during a power outage.
Believe that we all have a right to breathe fresh, cool, and clean air in our community centers. Thank you.
And that's why I support the full demand for the Hills to Smoke campaign. Thank you.
And on behalf of the 8,000 union electricians in King County, we want to see these community centers get built.
You have heard and you will hear so many voices from so many people in support of this campaign, from different backgrounds, from different life experiences, and from different organizations. And that's amazing because what the climate crisis is going to do if we let it is tear us apart. It is an issue amplifier and multiplier. It takes every weakness we have and it is going to make it worse if we don't come together and fight it as a united front. So please, we are all collaborating. We are all working together to build something amazing for a community. So many people have contributed so much effort into this. They made this thing I'm wearing. We are all collaborating and we are going to keep collaborating. So the question tonight only remains, are y'all going to come on board?